Okay, so we're post Royal Rumble. We've got two different sort of stories. One, it seems like I talked about this last week, is Dean Ambrose has been looking at probably leaving the E probably after WrestleMania. Now, this, of course, is because he does not like what he's been doing. So we'll do a little flashback. Shield shows up. He was the talker. He was easily one of the most enigmatic members of the group. I often thought, if you look at it's like Batman's Rogue Gallery, you had Bane, Two-Face, and the Joker. He was first one to hold singles gold. I think he was first one to be the Grand Slam champion. I mean, they did a lot of good stuff with him. Broke up the Shield. He went to an absolutely fantastic blood feud with Rollins, which then ended by a hologram of Bray Wyatt. He then went into the Bray Wyatt feud, which wasn't horrible. He had the Jericho feud, which, for what they feuded over, including Houseplant, they made enough compelling television to make it work. Then he went over to SmackDown. I know I'm jumping large portions of it. You know, he did become Money in the Bank champion. He did win an impromptu Shield triple threat. Was on his way to SmackDown. Did a good job top of the card to SmackDown. His feud with AJ while using Ellsworth worked well enough. I like seeing him feud with someone like Cena. He did okay work with Dolph Ziggler. This is around the time when Dean was just going nonstop, and you could tell that he was just getting worn down. They try to do the Shield. Doesn't work. Reigns gets injured. Try to do the Shield. Now Ambrose gets injured. Pretty severe injury. He was out for a long time. They finally do bring him back. Try to redo the Shield again. They try to capture that lightning in a bottle, which at that time would have been the fourth time they tried to do it. And now all of a sudden they went from him being the guy when the first Shield, remember, he had singles gold and the other two had tag belts, to he was the guy with the two guys that had the titles. And then the Dog of War storyline. Not a bad story, it's not a good storyline. Roman goes down with leukemia. Ambrose stabs Rollins in the back after they win the tag belts. Okay, good. The initial few weeks of that, when it's Rollins calling Ambrose and Ambrose kind of like staring at him from the crowd, you're like, I don't owe you a response. I'm not going to tell you why I did this. You know why I did this. I'm not going to validate your questions. It was good. And then they started having him talk. Overall, I do think that the Burning Barrel promo wasn't that bad. The vaccination bit was really bad. Coming out with the gas mask and the You People promos, not that great. So it took this amazing feud the crowd was incredibly hot for, and they took that fire and they threw ice water on it. And then to make sure, they thought they grabbed a container of gasoline, and actually it just said water, and they just doused more water in that. And then they threw bags of ice on it, and they went, huh, why is it no longer warm? Why is it no one cares? We did everything we could to just absolutely butcher this angle. Then he becomes IC champ, okay? Then he has good matches with Rollins, but the crowd investment's gone. Then they lose the title in a triple threat match to Lashley. Then he most recently lost to Rollins on Raw and then got attacked from behind by Nia Jax. Kind of makes sense that he's burned out. They do say he still does enjoy wrestling. Do I think he goes to AEW? I almost could see, like Dean's gonna take some time off and go, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna be a blurred out image in the back of Total Divas. I live out in the middle of nowhere. I'm just gonna go out for a couple, like 30-mile hikes in the desert. Well, social media. I made accounts because you guys wanted me to make them. I'm just clearing my head for a bit. He made good money, and he appears to have no vices. He might just be like, you know what? I'm done. I'll come back in a couple years. Because you can tell that he went from being an equal member of the Shield to being the forgotten member of the Shield. And then did a bunch of weird stuff. Apparently he's not a big fan of really poorly written and constructed characters. So, makes sense if he wants to take some time off. He did say it's not about money, because they threw more money. He's like, no, I think he's just burned out. Which makes sense. Now, since I mentioned that Nia Jax attacked Ambrose, there's been discussion of doing more intergender stuff. I think there are very few men on the roster who would legitimately make intergender matches sound really interesting. I think that you can make the idea of Rey Mysterio, Sasha Banks would be a fantastic match. I think that Nia Jax taking on a lot of male competitors makes sense in a way. If they do it somewhat Attitude Era, where faces didn't really hit women because men should not hit women, it's kind of a cultural norm. Yes, I know Lucha Underground did it, but Lucha Underground also had people who were dragons, who were space ninjas who fought with nunchucks, and magical gauntlets, and keys that controlled demons. So if the WWE was pretty much all like Undertaker, Bray Wyatt-esque characters, you could do that. You had people who were like living butterflies and moths. People who were left for dead and then came back to exact revenge. I mean, there were lots of things that they did that were more supernatural in nature, so you can make that work. Do I want to see Alexa Bliss have a match with Braun Strowman? No. Am I looking forward to the moment we're going to see Lana eat a Kinshasa from Shinsuke Nakamura? No. During the Attitude Era, they would do, the heels would hit women. Which, I will say what they did well with the bit in the Royal Rumble is Orton first and foremost went for an RKO. Orton was like, hey, you stepped in this ring, I'm going to take you out. I will say, if they decide to do more of this stuff, will we have a third Rumble match or just have one Rumble match? Will it just be, hey, you know what? It's a Rumble match. Okay, how do you get involved? Either you qualify, you pull a number, or you attack someone from behind. Let's reverse it. Let's say Carmella's going walking down to the ring, starts dancing, doing her thing. Then Strowman attacks her from behind, and then gets in the ring. And just starts throwing women out of the ring. Does it still work? Let's say when Nia Jax decides to hit Ambrose from behind, Ambrose turns around and just pops her right in the face. What do you want the crowd reaction to be? Nia Jax, healed. If Dean Ambrose, a man, were to punch her in the face, and the crowd cheers, they did kind of just cheer a man punching a woman in the face. Can it work? Yes. Very, very, very small instances. I was a huge fan of the Ring of Honor tag team of Sarah Death Ray, so it was the heel version, not Sarah Del Rey, and Chris Hero, intergender tag team champs. I thought that Mixed Match Challenge, with what they were doing for all the intergender matches, actually worked pretty well. If they wanted to take that style of format, put an actual title to it, occasionally have the men and women actually lock up, okay. I'm okay with it in some instances. Do we think we go back to Attitude Era where, Austin was hitting Lita in the face with the chair? No. No. I don't think we need to take it to that level. I do think if they had more defined heel face attributes, yes, I do think that if you want to try to get heat, it's cheap heat, again, very situational. Having a heel attack a woman, not saying no provocation. There should at least be enough that if someone sees it happen, you can go, no. If you go off 5 seconds before, here's the context for it. If they want to do a match where R-Truth exacts revenge on Nia Jax, it's rough. I know they do it a lot in indies, but normally what happens is the woman just gets absolutely brutalized, makes a babyface comeback, tags out to the guy. The guy does some of the work, tags out the woman gets the final comeuppance on whoever attacked her. I have seen the Candice LeRae, Joey Ryan match where Candice LeRae is just bloody. And it's like, the E's got way too many corporate sponsors, way too many eyes on them, way too many. Mattel's not going to be like, oh yeah, we'll totally do. We'll totally start doing these. All right, here's the pack for when it was Brock Lesnar versus Zelina Vega. If they want to do it again, it's very situational. I look back to ECW and Jazz. Jazz was dominant enough that the women they had could not wrestle her. So it made sense to have her wrestle some of the guys. Same thing with China. China absolutely dominated the women in her era, so it made sense that she would take on guys. They don't have a woman who currently has hit that level of sheer utter dominance that you can put them in a match with the majority of men. Again, I think stylistically you can pick some people here and there that make for really interesting matchups. If you were to do Charlotte, who's a ridiculous athlete, and put her in a ring with someone like Seth Rollins, who's a ridiculous athlete, have those two work their way through a match. Do I think Angle and Rousey could put on a fantastic match? Yeah. And I can see those two probably not even doing strikes. It would just be mat work. I think there's enough one-off matches that you can do to make it interesting. Not something I think that we should see them do on a weekly basis, maybe not even on a monthly basis, but something I could see them doing very, very infrequently with very specific wrestlers for very specific things. I like Mixed Match Challenge. I did think that it's a concept that would work. I do think that a lot of people probably saw like, oh, the woman would attack a man to break a pinfall, and man would pull a woman's leg. Oh, okay, could you instead seem like, pull the woman off? Again, this is one of those things where I think it's just where the E is at and how many eyes are on the product that they probably can't legitimately easily get away with men on women violence. And ironically, as a society, we haven't quite hit that point where, even though it's scripted, it's still sports entertainment. It still has that sport attribute. And this is still relatively family friendly. You don't want to start putting out the image out there, as a man, I'm not okay with men hitting women. And as a man, I shouldn't be okay with men hitting women. Like I said, there are certain situations where you can script it where it makes sense. And with certain characters, it makes sense. You can rationalize it. But knowing who the E has at their helm, there's a lot of minutia you have to manipulate with that to make it work. And to make it work in context. And the E hasn't shown a deft enough hand to make that work successfully multiple times. If this is a short-term thing they want to do with Nia, to do something with her and to give her, I guess, some level of notoriety, that's okay. Ellsworth for a while was wrestling the women, but he didn't punch them, he didn't strike them, he just did mat work. And then he got the daylights beaten out of him. If you reverse the roles, and you then put a woman on the lower end of the card just being humiliated by the men, does it work the same way? Just throwing it out there.